Every loss is pretty surreal. Yeah. Every loss is surreal. Thank you very much, you two, for joining me, and best of luck today.
Thank you.
Danke.
Here it goes again. 4 teams are still standing with 4 very different stories, but they all have one thing in common: the dream to become the best. Some of them already know how it feels to lift a trophy, but for others, they only know what it feels like to watch.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We got a showdown, EMEA showdown, Fnatic Team Heretics.
Before the chaos begins this weekend.
Yeah, good to be here. Good morning. I'm just waking up a little late to the party.
Here it is, the trophy.
Cheers, guys. Let's get it. YouTube, thank you for having me as always. Good to be here. I think the second match will be BBL and Team Liquid. So yeah, enjoy. Let's get it.
In this opening match, they'll get the chance to return to glory. And the other one, this could be their long-awaited first. Please join me and welcome your upper bracket finalists, Team Heretics and Fnatic, onto the stage.
Check my pedigree, I got legacy in my pop. You playing hopscotch on that top notch on the block. Shimmin' slide like me, nah. Spice it up with a sauce. Yeah, my boy said don't do it, I said bah. Yeah, my boy said don't do it, I said bah. Yeah, my boy said don't do it, I said bah. I can't keep up, play for the Lita. Big queso, I'm born with the ether. I still took heat up, no halo. I've been with a handgun, I've been on my King Kong, come payload. I've been on. What? Check my pedigree, I got legacy in my pop. You playing hopscotch on that top notch with a block. Shimmin' slide like me, nah. Spice it up with a sauce. Yeah, my boy said don't do it, I said what? Check my pedigree, I got legacy in my pop. You playing hopscotch on that top notch with a block. Shimmin' slide like me, nah. Cholula with the sauce. Yeah, my boy said don't do it, I said what?
Every single split we've had since the partnership era, when Fnatic made the playoffs, they make a final. But Team Heretics, they still haven't won a trophy. And it's pretty fair to say that they're the favorite for the first time in a while coming into this. So the map vetoes are going to be very important. We've seen this match already pretty recently. Do you anticipate, do you anticipate the same maps?
I kind of anticipate the same veto. Fnatic banning Pearl, Team Heretics removing Split, and Fracture is going to be the first one. Icebox second.
It's not
so
the same maps.
We are in for a treat. As you're saying, Yinsu, we saw Lotus and Haven. Heretics wanted to prove on Haven that they got it better than Fnatic, but this time around, it is completely different. And I really, really want to see that second map, especially thinking of that first one, right? Fnatic go on to the pick and Fracture. We know that they've been performing, especially on the last couple showings that we've seen of that. But from Heretics, it's not a map that we really see a lot. We've seen them ban it also throughout the regular season, and I don't believe we've seen it in kickoff.
Yeah, they banned it near enough every single week in the regular season, whether it was in their first wave or their second wave. However, the last time that they met Fnatic, it was Split that they banned, and of course Fnatic deciding to pick into that Fracture. So yeah, something that we've not really seen from Team Heretics as of yet, or at least not so much. But yeah, it's the Icebox. Team Heretics deciding to pick into that one as well, I think is interesting.
Let's go.
Like that's very confident.
The Neon versus the Sage.
Yeah,
it's a lot of Gecko.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see that head-to-head.
Yeah, it's very interesting that Fnatic are finally choosing Fracture. They haven't chosen Fracture at all this entire split. Every time they played it, it's because someone else chose it or it was map 3. So there must be something in the source here that's kind of saying to them, we're confident against Team Heretics. And this is where I want to see Crashies warm into the game instantaneously. You know, he's promised us every time they play Fracture, he's got them. But on the other side, who's the Heretic standout player on Fracture?
Here's the thing, we need to think of, as I said, they have not played this since kickoff. I believe it was Woods was playing on Sky. It was like, I do not think that we're going to get the same. The question is, what is Woods going to be doing? Is he going to go on the tech, or are we see them moving away from that double initiator? Maybe they do a double duelist here. We've also seen him going on the duelist. Are we going to see the Raze, knowing how good Miniboot has been on the Neon this stage? A lot of questions here, and the ball is in their court.
Yeah, we're going to find out now what we're going to get, and it is is a mirror matchup. We didn't see the Kayak versus Minibu on Neon last time, so this is exciting.
Yeah, that is very exciting. I'm excited to see both of these going on Neon, especially because we know that we're not going to have that head-to-head on Icebox. But yeah, looking at these compositions here, I mean, Rien's on the breach, not something that we see an awful lot of the time as well. And then Boo, trusty Brim. So yeah, I mean, I guess they thought that Fnatic's Fracture was good. They decided to copy
It's like the Haven, right?
Yeah.
And now they're going to prove them, just like in Haven, that they can do it better than them. And of course, for Heretics going into this matchup, you have to see this as a possibility, absolutely. And thinking of Heretics, yes, we had a lot of matches last week. Heretics played one. Like, they're on a very, very good position to have as much of a break as they needed to prepare things like this one. But something tells me that this was probably like prep from the beginning when we saw all the changes. It just makes too much sense for Minibu to go on this agent. And as we're saying, the head-to-head is going to be brilliant. Also thinking about the snipers and the operators. And I do not only say operators because we expect Kayak to definitely make a difference when he's with that gun. I'm also thinking about the marshals and the outlaw that Minibu has been rocking throughout the entire year.
I can't wait to see this match. Of course, the winner will be a grand finalist. And I said that every day working with Kakuka and Billy is a W, and my day is only getting better because Mitch and Tom are waiting on the other side. Take it away.
I really wasn't sure which way that was going to go.
going the other way. I was certain it was going the other way.
I'll take a compliment. I'll take it. Yes, a pleasure listening to our desk. But now it's time to get into the game, Tom. Hell of a matchup here in the upper bracket final.
Yeah, and I love what they were talking about on the desk towards the end of it is that it's now going to be another time where Heretics have gone, you got a nice comp, Fnatic. We're going to take it. We're going to do it better than you. And they even said it when it came to the Haven comp last time around. They stole the composition, they went in, and they did it much better. In fact, they dominated. And that's what I think of when looking at this veto in general. I think if you have maps, especially historically, maps that Fnatic would love, they have all of them. Like, you've got an Icebox, which, okay, hasn't looked great recently, but was one of their best in the past. You got Fracture to kick it off, and then finishing on a Lotus. You couldn't ask for much more. But we're not back in the past. We're not in those days, and Heretics have looked in form as of right now.
Talking about the past, Stage 1, upper bracket finals and grand final. This was the matchup going back to last year. You've just seen the stat pop up there, 70% win rate when it comes to their opponent's map picks for Team Heretics. And of course, this is Fnatic's pick. Let's see if that stat is going to be hurt and harmed here today. As Fnatic on the defense, getting aggressive, and it's Kayak with a double opening. The flash helped him out for the second, but the first was all him. Little bit of space taken by Heretics in response, but a 5v2 that they're now left in.
Yeah, I think they did the exact same thing in the pistol versus Liquid, this aggressive defensive side push. And has left Minibu in an almost impossible position, but bear in mind Kayak's low. And Minibu, when you talk about statistics, when you talk about ACS, this has been the guy throughout the season that's been able to take rounds home in scenarios that never should have been. With this crossfire should be impossible, but the first one comes cleanly. The next two might be a little bit tougher.
Yeah, there's still some room for this to swing back in the favor of Team Heretics. A strong squad when it comes to that pistol round win rate. See if it can be converted by the crossfire in play. Chronicles contact and the swing from Crashies down below. In fact, it was Minimu going diving in towards him. He meets his fate. The shot to the head secures a 1-0 start for Fnatic.
Yeah, and as I was saying during the round, this is something that we saw from them last time out when they played Fracture, this very aggressive stance when it comes to Dish and the pistol round, and I think it's something that Kayak just thrives in. You set him up, you put him in positions, and he's going to put up those numbers. Now that game did obviously slip into absolute turmoil, coming down to Boaster having to save them, so we'll see if that's going to be the case here, because I think for Fnatic, getting off to a strong start on Fracture is going to be fairly important.
Without a doubt, Team Heretics, they've come in and given them that opportunity. At least it will be a light buy from that attacking side, playing the orbs early on, keeping space across the map. You can see on the B side, sitting outside, you've got two players locking down that control, keeping those orbs out of their opponent's hands, and they can rotate in and take them later on. Now for Heretics, that's really the best that they can hope for in a round like this, where there's not that much to fight with. But if Minibu gets a few opportunities, if that Sheriff is given a chance, we know just how dangerous a round this can be when the pack is facing you. For Fnatic, it'll be all about avoiding that danger, and I think they're doing a great job. Just looking at B, there's one player passive and a 3-man Southside push, a lot of space taken in response.
Yeah, they have so much the information.
Here's the danger.
They're even going to steal an orb or two, but I think they're very aware of the few spots on the map. There could be less saying that. Rians is the first to take a jewel, but Chronicle at range should have them dead to rights. Obviously not wanting to overface, but here's the steps coming and just farming up those orbs. Eventually he's going to get overwhelmed though, and this could be a problem. That's now the rifle. Look at the guns that are left for Fnatic. They've only got the pistols remaining. One comes up for Alpha here, but this is all falling apart.
Boaster's got a chance. Still gonna hurt the economy, but oh, never mind. He can't pull it back in their favor. The round 2 response from Team Heretics, a resounding victory. They looked to play the orbs. They moved as a pack, but their odds, it didn't seem to be in their favor. Isolating the first fight though, it's worked wonders.
Yeah, Fnatic need to make sure they go off to a strong start, get that momentum in their favor. That's not lasted very long at all.
Let's go!
I think, yeah, Miniboo maybe as surprised as the rest of us, because that didn't look like a round that should have been remotely possible. But with the aggression of the weapons and the pistols left behind, you now look at the economy available. I guess it doesn't matter. I guess the Classic is a much better gun than I'm giving it credit for.
Fnatic coming into this game at least the best anti-eco team in the league. Well, that statistic just took a big hit in a big game as well. Trying to fight back with an eco of their own. And at least for now, it looked good. A Classic found the opening. Alphier shows the Guardian and put some credits on the line, and the reward, well, it's looking decent with Heretics already feeling the burn. Moving into the A site though, filling in a lot of space here will give them an opportunity to grab that plant. They still have to get past Crashies, but again, it's only the Classic in his hands. Boaster coming into position, only a Sheriff.
I think fighting back in is always going to be that little bit more difficult. Utility to try and hold them into place, and well, it's not the prettiest of shots. Rians does well, but the spike has been dropped to the deck. Still though, now back into a 2v2 scenario. Benji trying to find a little bit of extra space. He's been in top form as of recent games, but this is still not an easy position to get out of.
Covered weapons for Fnatic. They can pack a punch in these fights, but they haven't got the shields to last once shots land in the other direction. Heretics walking out with 2 players. A solid early start for them though, considering they were 1-0 down.
Yeah, they make that one a little bit costly. That's the problem, is that you look at this from Fnatic's perspective, you go, okay, you did a bit of damage. In the round that you have, it's not too bad, but when you consider how things went, and the economy is obviously, even with those 2 guns only being saved, for Heretics is still building up. You're going to have the Armageddon available as well for Woot.
That was not easy, but we've...
We what?
It wasn't easy.
We what though?
Got the job done, lads.
Ah, yes.
He learned that one from Benji.
Cut out a little early there for me, all good.
Well, there is the Armageddon immediately. Clearly wary of that aggression onto Dish once again that was mentioned. This time though, Kayak on the other side might have actually found a gap around the edge of the cam. I don't think Benji's going to have any idea that he's here! And it's not the prettiest of shots, but Kayak is still standing.
Somehow, yeah, he gets there in the end. Alphier above the smoke onto Miniboo, and now the numbers in Fnatic's favor. The weaponry there, the ult's online, and it's the neural theft finding the information. Big swing from Kayak. Shots, though, just not landing. And a Rolling Thunder in response is going to slow down that main take. Woot still flying under the radar up top. They've not spotted him. Chronicle may well have heard those steps as he swung out wide, and with Boo tagged low, this round can easily fall apart for Heretics. It's a brave stand out in the middle of the open. And he will find one on low HP. That's as solid as you could hope for, but Woot being rooted leaves Rienz alone. The last man standing, players all around, but he isolates it to just Chronicle. The time ticking, and it's already gone. The headshot confirms it. A Red Bull clutch for a 3-1 lead.
I think we've heard it from so many players throughout the league so far that like, who's the best player? And you look towards like the star duelists, maybe a Kayak, a Miniboo. You talk about players like Whoop, but the answer that crops up the most is Rienz. The safest pair of hands in these sort of clutch scenarios, individually sound and doing it all while playing supportive agents. This was someone where you sort of look at him, look how old he is as a player, and that is experience beyond his years, with just how calm, collected, and easy he made that look.
Top of the other team is Alfiair's former teammate, looking on as his friend of old outshines him here, at least to start out Fracture. Heretics, 70% of times they play an opponent's map, they steal it away. Alpha fired up inside of main. He finds the opening. He's dancing through the smokes, but eventually he will fall. The weaker weapons that are left in this round still managing to pack quite a punch. Boaster's taken down one. The numbers are somehow in Fnatic's favor. Damage is done too. And now the players are coming back up through main. This south side push from A main, well, it bought them a bit of space. But that orbital strike takes it right back into Heretics' favor. 2v3.
Yeah, he'd normally want to save that for the post, but they desperately needed that extra space. With Armageddon available, well, not anymore. Benji will win the fight that takes the ult out. Even still, an immediate trade, but this allows Boo back into those post-plant scenarios. We've seen this many a time. It might actually get an early fight. Chronicle has managed to slip the net into the close corner. I don't know if he's going to check it whatsoever. Just a smart play from the breach now on the other side. And what Fnatic will break back maybe a little earlier than expected as that low buy succeeded.
Yeah, I think Chronicle might have just heard the very end of the reload as he was walking into main, realized that you're not going to win in that head-to-head battle a lot of the time, but yeah, taking him down from the side, nothing he could do. 3-2. Fnatic, this is a round that they needed early on. We talked about getting off to a good start, and it looked like they were there with the pistol under their belts, but oh man. It's a nasty kill in return. The game's so desperately close here, and it's stun absolutely perfect. Yet you see,
on
even still, that player goes down to
lost.
16.
They're also lost. Like, I'm walking out. What is going on?
We got to see that POV just in and out of the smoke, but eventually, yeah, he was caught by Miniboo. Heretics right back on the horse though with a full buy.
Still with a purchase. Overdrive available. Ults firmly in the favor of Fnatic though. This is where they could look to build, but you can tell not wanting to overplay their hand, especially Alfia in this round with a full setup available. Trying to make sure they don't get anything for free.
Camera taken out.
Miniboo, someone we talked about confidence issues in the past, wanting to see him get off to a good start. Of course, up against Kayak, he has been shut down in week 5 when they played each other. It was the Kayak show. Now his opportunity for redemption up against the man himself. Benji Fishy is caught in the corner, finds himself one anyways, and a little bit of extra info. Cage trying to keep himself alive. Rien's at least able to trade it out, keeping favor in Team Heretics camp, but the spike still needs to be planted. And Crashies is here waiting for that cross. For now though, it seems like they might be expecting the rotation. Alfiair steps away from the site, leaves Crashies alone, and maybe they don't want this fight. Heretics could get a free plant. In fact, they get a free pick onto Alfiair. I don't think those shots were meant for him.
This leaves Crashies ult available, but chance of victory slim. Ultimate probably not wanting to be expended unless he can find a quick pick. And just look how far back this rotation is already going from Wu, knowing that soon he'll have the salvos available. The time that he can buy holds so much more value. Well, in the end, Crashies is forced to fall back. And I want to touch on something you said in that round, the head-to-head between Kayak and Miniboo, because it's an interesting point, because although Kayak dominated that battle, Miniboo is still the top fragger in the server. So that kind of showed how weird of a dynamic that you have one duelist that's winning the battle, but everybody else who faced Miniboo was not having a good time.
Yeah, no, he was decimating the rest of the squad. And you look at the stats back in that game, I think Boaster might have landed one shot on him. Like, he seemed invulnerable in a lot of those fights until he came up against Kayak. That's where it was a complete difference, night and day. And you can see Miniboo definitely off to that strong start, the confidence builder, getting aggressive, being the point of contact through those smokes. Of course, there's utility to back him up. Even getting caught by some himself.
I only could one, but thank you.
Oh, he's getting old, needing those stretches. Well, the early 20s, you know, it's really difficult time.
Hands of time, man. They're unforgiving.
Oh. Boaster's another highlight as well. He's had a good season individually, but struggled when it came to this matchup, maybe having to focus a little bit more with how aggressive some of these plays can be. Chronicle, though, ready and waiting. Always been one of his best maps over on Fracture. And for now, at least, they have the opening advantage.
Oh, that timing perfect on the swing. Alpha here took a while to get there. He's a little quicker swinging onto Boo, though. Benji Fishy only got one last round. He wasn't happy with that. Steps up for a second, but not quite the third. It's Alpha here to take it across the line. Putting just Rien's up against the rest. They know exactly where he is. He's tripping wires. He's caught by the ult, and now he's in a fight with Kayak. Not one that many get to live to tell the tale of. Another round for Fnatic, now just one away, but considering they came into this map winning the pistol round, they would have wanted a stronger start than this. We're gonna need to see them streak together. I would say a few rounds. So far, they haven't streaked together too.
The interesting thing so far in this map is I feel like they've been doing in rounds where the purchases are actually a little bit weaker. Like they're a bit more aggressive. You see Alpha actually actively taking more fights in a lot of these rounds, and that has been the difference maker, because look, 9 and 6 on the board right now. When he's free to be aggressive, it seems like Fnatic take over, and when he's having to play around that util a bit more, it doesn't seem to work.
Well, there's util off rip from Heretics. They're looking for aggressive space take, much to Rien's chagrin. He goes down to the salvos in main, quick trades back and forth, and it leaves Fnatic with the advantage. Fast rotations from that A site. We've seen this a couple times now, but Boo manages to find one with a classic. He's gonna need a little bit more though, as he's now all alone.
He's got a lot of time to play with, but yeah, the unfortunate truth is it's only the sidearm that sits in hand for now.
He can recover one here.
I think just wary of what ground has been taken though. You know where the spike is. You're always going to be nervous that any of these angles could have a player sitting on them, and he's seen Boaster. Boaster still only has a stinger, by the way. Started the round with it. I think has got the majority of kills with it. But is waiting for the swing out from Chronicle. If he gets this kill, it could be a completely different story, knowing that his opponent was playing at range with an SMG, and now with Spike in hand, you can see Boaster's just standing in a position where he can hear any steps. If his opponent was to start running, he could make it quickly back to the A site. But they're already starting to doubt if Boo has made that move.
Yeah, they think that maybe he shift walked all the way to that north side and is now coming down through Dish. Boaster moves into position. He's got the orbital strike to deny. 15 seconds on the clock. Boo knows the ults he's up against. Got to make a move. The plant is a tap, 10 seconds, and the orbital strike comes into play. He had a chance there to rip both heads off, but a difficult fight that Fnatic set him up for. Alphayere's all smiles as they've now equalized 4-4.
Around again with a fair few weaknesses. A nice early setup. This is something that I think has been challenged quite regularly by Fnatic, has taken away that arcade control, making sure that teams can't execute through that direction.
This guy is smoking, bro.
Okay. Chronicle maybe not happy with the disrespect. I'm not sure, but it's now going to be that tactical timeout taken for Heretics. You said needing to build on that defensive side. Fnatic have done that 3 of the last 4 rounds. But this is where not only the purchase comes back in for Heretics, but also you look at those ultimates. Already having the overdrive, Rolling Thunder close, Orbital Strike close as well, Armageddon just a couple away. And that's what can be the difference maker, because for Fnatic, there is nothing available.
Yeah, I mean, the orbital strike was there, right? But it was taken out of play in that last 1v2. You can see how desperate Fnatic were to get that round on the board, dispensing that, the respect that they're giving to their opponent as well. The stun, orbital strike, all that they had to work with. Now, when we talk about rifle rounds that we're about to see one play out in front of our eyes, these teams, Heretics #1, Fnatic #2 in the region, separated by just 1%. I mean, they are essentially the same when it comes to taking on opponents with equal weaponry in hand. 87% retake win rate. Okay.
Yeah, the 8th worst, it doesn't sound that bad, but when you realize that includes the majority of teams in other regions, it's not the best. Especially for a team that has always been known for a lot of those utility setups. You'd expect that on a map of their choice, they'd be strong in it. Pace change, though, coming in. And wow, Alpha, he's been at the right place at the right time. Dominating that B site. This time swaps to A, and already that's Miniboo gone again.
We already mentioned, you know, early on, it was his former teammate Rien's the one putting up those numbers, but Alpha very much leading the charge on the server in these last couple rounds. And on the scoreboard, as we see more bodies thrown at that site, they'll finally deal with them, but the reinforcements are here. Players covering all the angles from Sand and Spawn. They will take this round and the lead out of Team Heretics' hands.
Yeah, no, Alfie are looking incredibly comfortable right now. And as said, you put him in the right place at the right time. He is definitely one of the hardest players to play against. I think maybe at kickoff, not quite having the form that would have been desired of someone who, well, we know can play at the very top level, at the very peak of it. But so far in this map, he has been the difference maker. And as said, like you're watching Miniboo try and run into these angles, try and get up in his face, but the immediate shots being connected, Fnatic's reads have been sublime.
It's always dangerous when you see Alpha here start to giggle and have a good time down on that stage. Some more brazen plays, surely around the corner. Big stun on the Boaster. He's going to be caught again by Miniboo. Opening duel goes his way, but he's caught by Chronicle. Trade back, and it's only pistols now. That ultimate was the one thing to bridge the gap. The weapon inside that cage maybe can help them out. And there it is, finally recovered by Benji Fishy. Now they've got a rifle in their hands. They've got a potential plant. But the spike goes back the other way. They think the A site is going to be an easier solution to this problem of Fnatic's quick rotations, and it has been left mostly open.
This is a pretty absurd amount of space to be had by Kayak. Could definitely create some awkwardness with an operator. He needs to land the immediate shot. Benji gets a kill on the other side, but Kayak is well aware. Another for Rians though. And again, both teams have had relative success with these lower purchases, with both players now having guns, with a Rolling Thunder available. It's going to come down to the timing of what Kayak can get.
It was a crazy cerebral round from Heretics to fake back to A, late play into B, but now they've got to finish their dinner. Left down to just the operator of Kayak. Damage done to Benji, but that doesn't matter with this weapon in hand, and he's sent flying backwards by the Rolling Thunder. The clock here could prove to be his biggest enemy so far as he makes his way towards this site. So much stands in his way. Still a stun for Rians and a big weapon in his hands. He's made the realization this round cannot be won by Kayak. It's Team Heretics equalizing at 5-5. And the competitive series that we hoped we'd see here today, well, it's materializing in front of our eyes.
Especially considering that obviously we haven't seen much of Heretics on this map whatsoever, going all the way back to kickoff. It's a pay safe card, Thrifty. Another one, like I said, I think both teams with the low buys have been very effective in where they choose to go in these rounds, the sort of aggressive start to it, and then having these sort of late round lurks, these aggressive mid rounds. I'm liking the choices, the risks that are being taken by either side when they have pieces missing. In this round, at least, that won't be the case. Both teams again coming in with a buy, but I mentioned it. The ultimates have been really building up for the side of Heretics, and now they come in with an Armageddon orbital strike. If they get a plant, it's over, but it could also be used just to get them the space in the first place.
Yeah, or one for one, right? One to get in and one to lock it down. For Fnatic, a lot to worry about in those early fights, and they're looking for this deep A main aggression alongside that operator. It's going to lock down control for them late into the round. They still have to be worried about drop down though in that late play. And a much more passive approach to this B site. Again though, that comes off the back of seeing these ultimates, expecting an Armageddon to clear exactly the space that it's going into. No one needs to move on Fnatic. They were already set up for this. Those spams come desperately close to taking someone down. But in the end, Fnatic survive behind those smokes. In fact, Boaster gets in front of them, hoping that Boo will make a mistake. Denying this plant, though, seems too big a task. Boaster's pushed out. Big orbital strike.
Yeah, you think they're not going to ult the same place twice, but clearly realizing that that ground had been retaken, they will now get themselves a pick off that orbital strike. And finally, that plant will come in. Retreat should be impossible, but actually, Boo manages to get away. There are a lot of tag players, though. Benji Fishy looking to hold on to the cross. Rian's already eliminated by Alpha, putting things back into that 4v4 scenario, and now looking to try and clear things together. They need to get this close position out, though, and Miniboo's just looking to try and survive in the corner, just dancing with death, but he survives all the way back around. And while trying to clear him, That spike has been slowly ticking away. Chronicle with another. The trades coming back and forth, but still the attack have the time on their side, and with the salvos buying an extra few seconds at a peak, able to come from either side, but Kayak manages to land both shots and defend Chronicle on the defuse.
Well, we came in singing his praises, Tom, and I think you see exactly why. Oh man, that was unbelievable. One of the main things I'm worried about going back into that retake is the fact that Boaster was the one to fall. You lose your smokes. It was a great orbital strike by Boo. A little bit of desperation as well because he had the spike. He couldn't just go swinging through that smoke. So he uses that to buy time, to force a fight. And eliminating their smoker. I mean, imagine, they smoke main. They can defuse underneath their nose. Instead, one man has to hold while the other defuses. Time was desperately close. Even one missed shot there and the round goes the other way. But Kayak saves the day, keeps the lead in Fnatic's favor. And they can close this out 7-5. They won the pistol. They looked like they were off to a good start. But disruption early on from Heretics has slowed down. And now it could be Fnatic's time to shine. Big pick for Kayak early. At dish control, working wonders. And the response on the other side is to try to push Boaster. Try and fail.
Already. Ultimate thrown in, both players hit. Wook just trying to survive at the back of the site, and they know exactly where he is, clinging desperately to life. There should be no way out of this round for the side of Heretics, with Boaster adding his third to the death toll, and eventually we will see that half going in the direction of Fnatic. 7-5, they'll keep the lead.
You can knock him down early, but you can't keep Fnatic down. That's 5 out of 6 to close it out. Wonderful performance from Fnatic. Heretics, though, well, they'll be looking to bounce back in the second half. Let's hear from Mixwell and his thoughts on Team Heretics' incredible 2024 run.
I think Team Heretics in 2024 did an incredible run. You have to take into account that they had to change rosters all the time because they had problems with visas and Patitech was coming in and out, and still managed to get a second place in almost every event they played. It was a project for the long run that ended up being so successful that not even the organization was aware of their true potential. And after the finals of Champions, losing against EDG in that fashion, the players were devastated, of course. They were devastated, and coming back from that was hard. You could see it at the start of the year. They were still not in their best shape. Mentally, they were not there. And right now, we're seeing them better than ever. I think Minibu is playing his best Valorant, and the rest of the team is doing it as well. I think they recovered, and not winning last year, it's good for them, because I think they never lost the fire to win, and I think it's their year. I think Team Heretics is going to win at least one international event for sure.
Well, Team Heretics, you heard it from Mixwell, looking better than ever. The reality is, though, Kayak seems to be their kryptonite. This guy tearing up the server. Miniboo, though, early on, we saw that confidence building. We saw him get involved in a lot of those early fights. We need to see a little bit of a change in the wins as Heretics, they were what? Was it 4-1, 4-2, in fact? Fnatic managed to cling together a lot of those last rounds.
Yeah, I think Alfia having a great performance. I think a lot of the time when they've pushed into his defensive setups, they've definitely struggled, but now it's a different story. I mean, he's going to have to hold on to a lot of those lurks. I think we saw that a lot of the time Fnatic were just leaving either him or just trips on one side of the map and then just going very directly in for a lot of these takes. We'll see how Heretics now playing their own composition against them. Of course, they've got a very competent Cypher of their own, and you already see the setups being put into place to force back that A main control.
It is, though, a plan from Fnatic early, sending Crashies through to break that camera, leaving Alpha on north side, and now taking advantage of the space as they heard that A main crunch. They heard a lot of utility, they heard steps, so they know there's space, and Alpha has just walked out of heaven, taken down Voot with ease, and the B side open for the plans. Boaster gets a little too aggressive, punished forward, expecting a gap, and there certainly was not one there. But a 4v4 post plant for Fnatic as a result. The camera even spotting this two-man north side push. A lot of information now for that attacking side to work with.
They managed to at least reclaim the ramp. And Alfie already picking off Benji. This is looking like a second pistol potentially going their way. They're going to have one of these fights going their way. And in fact, it's gone completely wrong, Reinstove. Never count him out. The salvos will buy that extra time. That's a bigger issue. He was hoping force players in. He's actually clipped it, and now an aftershock as well. The two players you didn't want to come up against in the post. It's the util rats. 8-5. Fnatic extend their lead a little bit further, but they do have to win the second round.
Yes, exactly, right? Look at the timeline when we get back in. It was the pistol round followed by a 3 consecutive round loss. Alphier playing such a huge role, though, in this round. The lurk up through north side, the camera to keep information late, the trap that allowed Kayak to sit in B main and not worry about his back. Unless someone was mad enough to take the ropes to cross, they could not be coming from behind. And him being able to focus on that fight just puts another gun into the mix. They had all the information and they played off it perfectly. Heretics left with pistols, and although they may be a strong squad when it comes to eco rounds, I don't think the Fnatic are going to make that same mistake twice.
No, they do still have the same amount of pistols, but it also means that they can afford a little bit of extra damage. That was close.
Got a little worried there, Tom.
Kayak down to just 21, but you can see immediately that rifle has been juggled over into Alfia's hands for the remainder. Again, it comes down to just how much damage can they get. That's at least one for Miniboo, but anything more from this stage, I'd be a bit surprised.
And even then, as long as Crashies is the one going down or close enough to retrieve the weapon, it doesn't really matter. Miniboo just now seeing that it was only a ghost that's left on the floor. And the benefit of Kayak being one of those players that will just juggle over the weapon. We've seen a lot of players, 20 HP, still swinging with the rifle, making that mistake, but the discipline on Fnatic, no surprise to see it. Hello. The orb a little more valuable to Chronicle. He'll get a chance for another. Potentially, now the spike cuts it short. Luckily, Wu didn't go swinging. That could have ended in disaster. But yeah, Fnatic 9-5 now, converting that second round, unlike in the first half.
Yeah, and this is now where their map starts to get a little bit away from the side of Heretics needing to kick this defensive side off. Strong indeed. Now we go into those buy rounds, but that's the difference. Fnatic can now just invest straight back into this one. They didn't buy much up. The credits are still going to be very good, so they come into this round with equal, if not better, than what their opponents currently have on the other side.
There we go, deep salvos. We've seen this to put the cam in place, but this time there's a drone following it up, stun to slow. And a good thing too, because there was about to be a lot of aggression around that corner. They now get the idea. The relay bolt fired in from up close. Miniboo was looking to swing that corner, was looking to take that fight, but they've got the idea. There's a few other players waiting for them there. Now, Alpha, I don't think he's going to get a chance for a pick here, but even destroying that utility, putting question marks into play for the defense, could have its value. That orb farming on Chronicle, we saw him go aggressive with the Marshal, looking for the picks early on. He's not far away from Rolling Thunder, but it won't be there for this round.
Caution here.
Almost the timing on Taboo, but instead they'll be held back. Spike looking like it's going to go back in the other direction, but it will leave them with limited amounts of time. 40 seconds left on the clock, and they've still got an awful lot of ground to clear. Timing here for Wu is going to be absolutely everything. If he gets this pick, it could be a problem, but Kayak has been an unstoppable force so far in this map, and now just sells a ruse. You see the aggression going through on that top side of the map, making that realization, okay, they're going to A. Let's start clearing out the other side, and now the smokes fall, and they are nowhere to be seen.
They already got rid of that camera early on inside B main, so it's not to be worried about. Rien's dealt with, He was already so desperately low. Boo ahead of the curve, but Chronicle still picks him up. Now just one away from that Rolling Thunder and one pick away from putting double digits on the board. There's Rolling Thunder online one way or another. And Miniboo doesn't stand the greatest chance of taking this across the line. I don't know how far away Crashies is from those salvos, but I think they'll be online fairly soon, even as Miniboo continues to chip away at this task. It's like Atlas, it will never end. Certainly not in his favor. As the players continue to be picked off, salvos come online, time keeps ticking, and it's still not halfway. Beautifully played, no matter how strong Miniboo is in those fights. Fnatic had all they needed to put 10-5 on the scoreboard.
Yeah, you can kind of see why those nerfs are coming.
A little bit, a little bit.
The amount of sort of time that could just be bought on the clock by Crashies alone, and this is why you might look at him at the bottom of the board right now, 6 and 9 in terms of the kill feed, but just the time he's able to buy, the space he's able to take, it just makes things so awkward for the remaining player. 10 rounds on the board. Of course, for Heretics, the story has been for a while about that second place curse. And you go back to stage 1 and stage 2 of last year, well, the reason they never won it was because of this squad in front of them. Even if internationally they did better, Kayak, he definitely knows that there's a target to be had, and well, is waiting for Riens to make his move. So aware of these positions, and even under pressure, he's still landing the shots. Boo is all that's left.
Spike planted.
This rifle recovered. Miniboo managed to chip away at them last time, but what stopped him? It was the salvos, and guess who's still online, still alive? Now, salvos aren't there just yet, but we've seen it. They'll be ticking away in the background and other players throwing themselves at this fight. Boo would have to root Crashies out first. He has found him and taken him down. Recovered the weapon for the magazine, finds his third, now it's down to one! A few shots away from an unbelievable clutch, but Boaster pulls Fnatic across the line, 11-5, 4 rounds in a row, and Team Heretics calling a pause. They know that their chances of closing this map out, of even competing here on Fracture, are fading away round by round.
Yeah, oh, it was an incredibly nice try from Boo, switching guns midway through, and well, the last man standing, Boaster, had to put him down to stop that.
Good job, boys. Very nice.
About 11-5 up. A 6-round streak for Fnatic on their map choice. Looking at that veto, the potential for a Haven to be picked again. That could have been the choice of Heretics going into the next. They decided to switch things up, go for an icebox, maybe play the mind games. We'll see if that comes back to bite them. And the Fracture choice, not really that much of a surprise. Even though it was close versus Liquid, we saw the resilience, we saw the depth of what this Fnatic squad have on this map, and well, you just look at the scoreboard right now. As said, you can talk about the impact of Crashies without the kill feed, but everybody else is lighting up the kill feed. Boaster now, I think in the last series versus Heretics, managed just 15 kills across 2 maps. He's on 13 right now. I don't think he's the major talking point, with Kayak, Chronicle, and Alpha all having one hell of a game.
Yeah, Alpha's first half was unbelievable. I think you can't take anything away from him when it comes to that second. Oh, here's a great stat as well, backing that up. In their last match, Kayak won 80% of opening duels against Miniboo. Like, unbelievable to see this guy go head-to-head with a player that many in the world have learned to fear. But he does seem to be his kryptonite. 11 rounds on the board for Fnatic, and something has got to change for Heretics. They've got ultimates, Rolling Thunder, and Orbital Strike coming into this round. And on attack side, that can be used to great effect to take space and deny in that post plant. Here on the defense, well, you've got to have players left alive, right? And Fnatic have been so good at pushing and pulling this map that Heretics can't feel certain that off one piece of contact, they can throw everything at it. It's a little harder to find the space to use them.
You've got the camouflage cam, and on the other side, you've got the aggressive peak coming up, but Woot's definitely been having a struggle so far on this Teo. Someone we know that normally individually sound has not won a lot of these opening fights, but will take Boaster out. The orbital strike gone, and so are the smokes.
Hasn't deterred them. Salvos force players to the open, the smoke shielding them for now. Alphayer picked off going up into heaven, and now, well, even Orbital Strike committed. 5 versus 3, 25 seconds on the clock when that ult is taken out. I'm a little surprised. The respect being shown, perhaps for good reason, but they drop Kayak right away. 10 seconds, salvos to deny, and the round is already done. If this spike makes it down, I will be very surprised indeed. And I suppose it does make it down onto the floor, but not planted. Chronicle to save his weapon, and a round back for Heretics.
Yeah, clearly feeling the pressure a little bit. The orbital strike, I think, just utilized to make sure the round is confirmed. But I also think with other ultimates online and coming online, just making sure that the cycle of those ults is going to be further in that favor. But I think the most important thing was just the start. Woot being able to hold it down, denying both of that space. And then just having those quick rotations back in onto the site. It's the combo breaker. The 6-round streak ends before it hits 7. But there needs to be a whole lot more for Heretics to make me believe in this map, at least.
Whole lot more indeed. Now one player's got a pistol. It is Kayak. You check that ultimate. You look at the value found in the last half. Certainly far from an easy round. Trap already destroyed. Benji will be under pressure anytime now. An ultimate put into play. Kayak on his way straight through. There it is activated. But Miniboo's the first to draw blood. It's Benji under the pressure as predicted. Miniboo to fall as well. Numbers kept even, but the attack side has space. Rolling Thunder keeps the spike in the defender's hands. They've got it dropped in towards main for now, but Alphayer with a quick double puts this one to bed, smoking off the spike and taking it from under Rien's nose. And now a 1 versus 3. A big play coming in as well. Down below you can see that Alpha is lurking, making his way around to close this out from behind. Rien's worried about the players in May. Now he's got an idea though. Alpha hits the shot anyways, returning to that first half form. A 3-piece, and that puts them again double the rounds of their opponent, just 1 away from taking their map pick.
He's had so many high impact rounds throughout this matchup so far. Took his teammates to sort of get him into position, but then just swings versus 2, both players headshotted, and is there to close out the round as well. It is one of those things in esports when Alphayer is in form, there's not always a lot that you can do. While for Heretics, it is a mixed bag buy. You've got an operator alongside ultimate for Miniboo. It feels like they've almost put all their eggs in one basket. He's dead immediately. Alphayer again with the opener.
I was saying earlier, you can't take anything away from him. His utility so important here on the attack, but now he's starting to claim a name for himself with the gun in hand. I think just 1 behind Kayak. In terms of frags, Mike just matched up there. Benji down on the ground, and the dominoes all falling in favor of Fnatic. Boo! Even lost on that south side push. There's almost nothing to fall back on here. They've at least dealt with Alphayer, but let's be honest, there's very little when it comes to weakness here on the Fnatic side. I think Boaster 1 away from having, in fact, there it is, the same amount of kills as the last time these two met in a series. This is a Fnatic fired up in the upper bracket finals, and now 1 map to the good.
Really impressive display from them. The attack almost flawless, and a stellar defensive side as well. It took them a little while to get going with that 2nd round blip. But well, now we look to see if Heretics are going to turn up for the show. Icebox is coming up next after the break.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me no more.
I don't know. You don't care. Give you my love.
Do you know Michael Jackson?
You better run, you better do what you can.
Can you sing something from Michael Jordan?
I'm the best. Swish, swish, swish. I'm the best.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Right, boys? Do I have to stupefy them?
Start with Rians.
And we need a big stupefy for Rians. Let me charge it up. Stupefy!
Bro, I've been watching their voice comms and both are doing some stupefy, 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 stupefy.
Expecto Patronum! Wait, he's doing it back to us.
What'd you do?
I think he did Expecto Patronum.
He didn't expect to patron him?
God.
There was some magic in the air indeed, but we're now joined by someone who's been through it all. Not only a world champion, but 10 titles in Valorant. What an honor it is for Petra to be here with us today. Welcome.
An honor for me as well.
We've been praying for these days, haven't we?
Yes, I am so happy that we have her here, and I hope that you come back. But I really, really want to know your thoughts, because it's always us speaking about you, but now we also get to pick your brain.
Yeah, tell me, what was your biggest takeaway from that fracture map? What would you say?
Well, there was not a lot of dominating rounds. In the beginning especially, it could go to every team. Near the end it was more dominating for Fnatic, and
yeah, on defense they didn't get any round, maybe one.
Yeah, it was just the one. Very, very close start. I honestly thought we were going to get an OT.
Yeah.
I really, really was hoping for that OT. But Kukuka, what happened? How do we? Why was it so one-sided and then not?
I absolutely loved how this map started. We could see Heretics doing a lot of shenanigans, a lot of set rounds with their ultimates right off the bat, and they had a very clear idea of what they wanted to do. Remember, Heretics had not played this map since kickoff, so they still got to get used to the things. We saw the changing compositions, and Fnatic had a very rough start. They win the pistol, they're not able to convert, and as Petra was saying, everything was extremely close, a lot of clutches, but eventually Fnatic found their footing. They found what made them strong, and they secure all their post plants.
Yeah, that one round, as you guys can see at the bottom, actually did end up going to Heretics when the side swapped. Now, they've been very vocal in the past, right? We're not afraid of stealing other people's comms. We can steal it and make it better, but Petra, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I guess it is. They need to tweak it a little bit more so they have their own game plan, right? So they cannot copy-paste everything.
Yeah, they can't. And I love the differences of how Miniboo was used versus how Kayak was used.
Yeah. I think that in Kayak, we can see also the mind of Boaster, like when he goes on to A and then gets a kill, the call is we all go B. We see him playing a lot outside of the pack. On the other side, we saw a Miniboo that was going in first and being shut down. Actually, time and time again, this is one of the things that Fnatic spotted that was being a pain point. So they had to use a lot of utility to shut him down, and eventually they got in their head.
I don't think anyone saw him, Petra. He was just getting spammed.
Yeah, it felt very unlucky, but he did got caught in the same positions a lot.
Yeah, is that like a predictable thing, you think, when it comes to Neon players, that you know where to spam?
I mean, if there's a wall, you're spamming it, right? So maybe you need to try to bait a little bit more and change up your pace to not get spammed.
Yeah, and Chronicle was just with the Phantom time and time again. He was like, there's going to be a lot
Looks
of
so easy.
smokes, a lot of walls, Neon's running, so I'm just going to be spamming with the Phantom. And it's so good to see Fnatic in this form, because we know that Fracture has always been a good map for them. And coming into today, deciding to change the veto, love this phase that we see. And then on the side of Heretics, they had not lost a map since week 2 of stage 1. So kind of crazy.
Yeah, we have some agent select, I believe, coming up. So let's take a look at agent select, I guess. All right.
We have it?
Yeah, I think it's for map 2 for Icebox, right?
Let's chat about Icebox.
Yeah, we normally have a little bit more time than this. So let's talk about Icebox real quick. Petra, you are a Sage enjoyer as we take a look at this, and we're going to see a Sage on the side of Fnatic.
Oh, more. That's nice. I don't see enough Sages on this server. I would like to see 2 of them. I think Sage Wall is pretty useful, especially on defense. If you keep it in your pocket for a little bit, the retake is pretty easy.
Is there a comp you prefer out of these 2?
Well, I'm a Sova fan as well.
Oh, of course you would say that. Of course you would say that.
I mean, yeah, both comps are very good, and Tejo on this map is also unmissable.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Heretics decided not to go for the tech and swap things a little bit out. But I think that is still going to be very, very effective. 3 out of the 4 teams that we have in playoffs have decided to run this Gecko on Icebox. Fnatic doubles down also with Kayak on the stage. We were speaking about it and how impressive it was last time that we saw them play the map when he was on this agent. From the defense, maybe on Fracture, he was not spectacular with the operator. I really hope that that changes for this first half. And on the other side, I hope the Heretics is ready for it.
Yeah, there's plenty of odds on both of these teams at this point on Icebox. Fnatic, Mitch and Tom are 1 map away from another grand final.
Well, this is where they belong, isn't it? Fnatic at the top of EMEA. We've seen it many a time before. And often it is Heretics they have to get past. Last time in stage 1, they failed to do it, but now just 1 map away. And you know what, Tom? Icebox, you said it in the last map. This could have been a mistake for Heretics, and coming off the back of desolation like that on Fracture, it very well might be.
Yeah, I think you look at like the results of this stage and you go, okay, 3-0 for Heretics, 0-1 for Fnatic, and you go, okay, so you pick that map, but you understand the history that's on this map. You understand that that defeat was a very, very close defeat to Team Liquid, who again, like historically have been very good at this map. And then more so, you look at the fact that Kayak went, I think it was 27-17 while playing a stage, and you go, okay, you get 1 or 2 other players stepping up alongside him, and this could be a very different story. Then you add in momentum. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, the Battle Sage, it really was a treat to watch last time We'll see if it's going to be the same again here. Team Heretics on the attack to start us off, but it's Fnatic who are taking some space, some ground. The two being pushed, but Heretics are ready. Benji, Fishy watching that alongside Boo, and they'll find the opening pick as a result. They even suspect that he wasn't alone, but Crashies bides his time. Unfortunately, Alpha's isolated. He's still alive. One shot left, and he'll be executed from behind. Does well, though, to find his one there. Still a disadvantage for Fnatic.
Alfia playing yellow and only getting 1 kill. Can't believe it. Thought he'd have at least 2. Boaster under serious pressure. Wingman can get the plant in, and well, that gives the space for the others to push. They've spotted Crashy's flank, and both players on Fnatic completely isolated. Both pistols went their way in the last map. It got them that extra little bonus of a start, and well, maybe this one still has some legs in it. 2 quick kills.
Where has this hope come from? Oh, the stun perfect, though. Chronicle going to be caught out. Rian's the one to take him down, and now Crashy's all alone. And they're lined up. The high-low setup almost isolates one. The shot's not quite landing. 4, 3, 2 bullets left, and he's out. The reload they'll swing on, but that's a mistake. Unfortunately, time is too far gone at this point. Woot pulls it across the line with 1-0. It's the first pistol of the series for Heretics, but not the first time they've gotten off to a good start now.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited to see Woot playing this Gecko as well. I think it's worth noting that obviously a lot of the duelist players have kind of just gone, I'm going to play Teo because I can just place util down. And I don't know, at times I feel like it doesn't work for him. Whereas I look at a Gecko, okay, sure, you have to plant, but you have a little bud to do it for you. Sure, you have to flash, but you can flash for yourself. Like, there's a lot of very aggressive things that you can do with a Gecko. That's why I can think of a duelist main or two who just swapped to that and started playing it on his streams.
A second ago, I said that it was a great stun. I think that was Chronicle's own wingman from down below that stunned him. Because in the kill feed, there was no assist for Rian's, and correct me if I'm wrong, but his utility belt doesn't do any stunning, so that's a little bit unfortunate. It might even be through the floor as well. I'm not sure I've seen that before with that kind of height to it, but wingman, a very effective buddy, I suppose, although this time not for Chronicle.
Maybe wingman just too strong. Maybe that's the
Wanted to help out Woot.
Hey.
You got confused.
Everyone wants to help out Woot. But Benji, you look back to his previous performance versus BBL, a 14-12 overtime, 26-16. He has been in form, especially in recent times. With the space he's taken, the team are actually going to rotate in to execute alongside, of course. Okay. Yeah, just spam him out. That's fine. Boaster wrecked. Not going to be able to do anything with his extra util to delay. And the rest of the team, Mitch, they're not particularly close.
Oh, no, they're not. Miles away, in fact. The weaponry certainly not favored for them. Post-plan for Heretics set up well.
Are they watching for a lurk? I think they're both watching to see if Benjamin Fish was going to be coming in from behind.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad way to pick up even just that ghosted advantage. Start to then box them in the post plant. But Heretics not quite so brazen in this one. It's 5 players, tucked passive, late play from Rian's to wrap around, see if he can pick up. Because you're getting the sense here they're going to go down to the spike, right? He wants to get ahead of that, find a couple of orbs for himself. Minigun successfully lands an orb at least.
That's the rifle.
Indeed, the rifle, although it won't be recovered by the other side, it certainly won't be recovered by Heretics.
I think that was the only Phantom that they had. So that kill was actually quite costly. A little bit irritating to lose that and for Miniboo to be the last man left behind. But
oh, here it is. Thank you very much, EVS. Yes, it was. His own wingman got him. That's criminal. That's criminal. Look how far away it is. Outrageous.
Why is there no self-assist? You were betrayed. I'd love it. Someone needs to edit that where the wingman's eyes just goes red. Evil wingman has entered the server. Ah, Heretics with a little help from a little friend. For now, though, their buy definitely has a piece or two missing. They're going to have dropped another gun over to Miniboo. Not having the best of times on the previous map, but if this season is anything to go by, he's going to have a response. A 2-0 start. I'm off for Fnatic. This is sort of a must-win round. Otherwise, we could see Heretics just run away with it.
We've seen Heretics do more with less, even just in the previous round, or previous map, I should say.
Drone is down.
Fnatic with their rifles in hand, have already sensed that presence towards the A site. The drone gone through and met some opposition, met some resistance, but Heretics, I think, are playing this as a fake. Drone and flash go up. Players spotted, noise still being made, but now the rotation back around to the B site, and indeed, because of the space taken, front yellow watched by Benji, back by Boo, it's not been abandoned completely.
30 seconds left.
There's a jiggle peek coming in through mid, and I think that with no execution of that utility, that fake was not the greatest sold. No one's really fallen for that, but there isn't much in terms of denial. They've already used some of that extra utility, and instead it's a slightly different plant. The wingman's been dropped. 12 seconds. Now that attack side has to get moving. They need to move forward and get somebody to try and plant that spike, and the fights are not going their way. Still yet to find a plant, and within the last second they're going to attempt it, but there are players peeking in. The plant will go down, but Kayak is quick to make sure nothing comes of it.
It comes damn close to being a successful round. Kayak's healing himself back up there, but he was tagged pretty low. So was Boaster. And even those 1 or 2 extra picks coming across the line, they bring big value to Team Heretics in a round like that. So they definitely, considering the A site fake really didn't work out. I mean, you still had killed really close with Util. You still had Viper there as well.
They threw a Dizzy in, everyone rotating.
And a drone! Oh no! Not even a fast lane committed.
10 seconds later, no one here. No, he's still here, guys. Come on.
Might be. They're freezing. But yeah, it was a good read, I think, as well, from that defensive side to not over-rotate, to stay in position. They get the reward, and they don't lose too many players.
They rotated the other way. They were like, yeah, that fake didn't fool us so much that we're actually just going to go B now, lads. It's also just the util denial. They had so much available to just make sure there was no safe place to plant. That is the value of those salvos especially, but nano swarms, snake bite as well. It is a lot that can deny. And that's something that Heretics are going to have to be very wary about. Even having the wingman doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get that plant for free. And without having that trusty Sage wall, it can become tough.
Obviously a pretty intense read on this peak coming through middle. You can see that it's a high-low setup late into the round. They put pressure on B. They show tail so that hopefully somebody goes for that mid-aggression. In the end, it doesn't really come through. You could consider what we just saw from Chronicle there, kind of.
But look at where they pushed to, though. Like, Benji just got killed from a guy all the way up, deep in towards that A side of the map, but luckily there's been a response. Again, the goal on this side has always been to delay, but Miniboo has decided, you know what, I'm not going to give them that opportunity. I'm going to try and get up in their face. Plant will go down. Armageddon a little bit further up behind, was hoping to force them forward, but with the space already taken by Miniboo, they weren't too wary about it. Still looking to hold on to that backline. Kayak is the snake in the grass, the second layer to this rotation, and it seems like at this stage the attack are completely unaware that there is another player coming in from behind.
My ult is ready. They have no idea. And now even less so, looking for that retake, looking for the fight. Alpha, 8 HP. All hope may rest on Kayak's head, but manages to find one. Alpha buys that little bit of space. The wall not quite lasting as long as it needed to. Woot getting involved early on. And a third round now for Team Heretics. The early half, again, looking favored towards that attacking side.
The thing is, I really like the sort of isolation of Benji. I think they've realized how tough it is for him to just sort of hold on to that much of the map, and having a player push mid and then aggressively on A. It came down to the finest of margins.
Bro, you're the go.
Really solid work from Woot to actually win that round home, because I feel like if you look at how it was actually played, I'd probably have favored Fnatic there.
I think I'd be with you. Kayak's flank could have had so much more value, but a few early peaks by Heretics get them across the line. Pistols for Fnatic, a light buy across the board. And it's Alphier, Marshall in hand, the biggest investment, bar the Stinger, I suppose, for that defense. It's managed to draw blood early, still so much to worry about, and in particular, the Outlaw in Miniboo's hands, a double barrel operator in effect, with nobody having heavy shields. Everyone is squishy. Everyone's a free kill, but he's got to land his shot. And now he's down to just 50.
Healing.
Yeah, we'll get some of his health back. live to fight another day, and Miniboo's being left behind. It's mainly, again, because this secondary lurk, this additional player of Boo, has taken a lot of space over on that A site. The problem, though, is that they are losing members. A 5 versus 3. Drone from Crash, he's just waiting, knowing that there was a guy on the other side, and now I'm going to just try and slow them down as the full force of Fnatic looks to rotate into this side of the map.
This could be a strong start to the attacking side, but they're being chipped away at by Fnatic early on. A chance remaining for the defensive side, an early flank yet again. Guess who it is? Kayak wrapping up behind, hasn't been spotted. And there's presence being shown by Fnatic, but they haven't committed just yet. Those weaker weapons, hesitant to take the fight. Will Heretics worry about their back in time? No, they won't. Kayak strikes, picks off the first. They're managing to hold the line against the onslaught from Spawn. Kayak, the man with the rifle, buys time, grabs their attention, and Crashies takes them both out with plenty of time for the defuse, and the orb given towards that Armageddon. Fnatic are back on the board with a pay safe card Thrifty.
Again, it comes off a little bit of individual brilliance to start, but then just being able to isolate those flanks. That's happened multiple times where, well, firstly, that shot's just absurd.
Come on.
But the second they realize that Benji is gone, they go, okay, well, we can now flank. We can get in behind them without too many issues, and I do feel like that's happened a few times now, where Heretics are just a little bit too unaware that, okay, we've lost our Sentinel. We need to be aware of it.
100% with you there, Tom. I think that is the biggest downfall of that attack side in those 2 rounds we saw. The one that came close and this one here that fell, that crumbled. Kayak's being allowed to wrap behind them. Benji going down early. We can't see that repeated too many more times.
He's also being targeted. I think that needs to be said, because it's not just like, oh, Benji's having a bad game. Like, he's getting. No, they're actively looking for Benji so that they can have those flanks. So it's great work from Fnatic and something that Heretics have to adapt to.
Yeah, it was the A push that managed to find him earlier, and then just a mid-hold. This time, the push from A is in Heretics' favor. They're running it down towards Kayak. No flank this time. He's dealt with after 1, and Heretics finding these close-range 1v1s, XV1s, in fact. They've managed to recover themselves some rifles. And look at the space on B.
Yeah, this has been another thing to talk about, is that the amount of space they've been able to get on B at times has been intentional, and there's been just util thrown into delay. But this round was just a single rifle for the side of Heretics. And Miniboo's done incredibly well. Like, him and Benji both finding a pick, both getting rifles for Benji and Woot, and then the space that's been taken on the other side. Because it looks like an eco-direct hit into A, they now get the post-plant that's been eluding them. And Fnatic now have to try and clear everything else that remains.
Man, Boo's been so patient. He waited in this corner with a classic, hoping that there was someone close enough by that he could punish. And in the end, he's forced back by this lockdown. Won't have his reward, won't be able to get back into position either. The snake bite, though, lands in time to delay, buying that little bit more time. Oh, it's actually a little gap in it. They'll walk right past it, so a little bit more space taken. Boaster closer than expected already, wrapping around on yellow. Those recovered rifles now in with a chance. Alpha baits them into the open, takes down the double. Boaster with another, and the round falls into Fnatic's hand just about. The wingman working hard to defuse that spike as they now equalize it in Fnatic's form, 3-3.
Yeah, really nice retake. That didn't look like it was going to go in their favor, but Miniboo low, and then being able to trade out Woot without too many issues. It's a round where they fight from a 2-man deficit to get back into position. And probably the more worrying thing for the side of Heretics there.
This is Benji in my pocket. Fish.
But yeah, I was going to say the more worrying thing is the fact that 2 ultimates went through there for Heretics. So you start off the round, you're not going to put too much in. You go, okay, we'll invest into that singular rifle, try and do some damage. And rightly so, when it got close, they go, okay, we'll use the Thrash, we'll use ourselves the lockdown, but then you still end up losing the round. So that cost has come up quite a bit more hefty, and even though the scoreline still sits 3-3, I think maybe getting some flashbacks to the last map where you had a decent start, it's looking good, and then Fnatic just start climbing back into the map, and for Heretics, you just can't really afford that right now.
Alpha's getting involved in some of those early fights, and you saw it there on the stage. We mentioned it in the first map as well. When he's getting confident, when he's smiling, when he's cracking jokes, that's when he's most dangerous. Had a phenomenal map going into the previous. And
when
now,
he's angry, he's also very dangerous, though.
Absolutely.
You have to say, like, I think it's only if you ever see him sad, that's when you're like, oh, he's going to have a bad game. But I don't know if I ever have.
No. But yeah, you've seen him now. Said Benji's in his pocket. He's had those early picks. It's allowed Kayak to wrap up behind in the important rounds and the big ones. As you've seen here, two big teams when it comes to getting those early advantages. Something that Alpha has contributed heavily to so far in these first 6 rounds.
Yeah, I think this is when you look at the best teams in the world, you expect their 5v4 conversion to be very, very good. If that stat was bad, I think it would definitely be an anomaly for teams that have made it to international events, and we are hoping we'll compete at them. Here comes the TikTok plays from Kayak. A cheeky wall put into position, and you're not going to expect it. That mini who gone already. And there's not really anything he can do about that. You'd have to pre-fire every single angle on the map to find that kill.
Yeah, I think that boost has been around almost as long as TikTok. Kayak happy to take it out here. You haven't seen it for a long time though, right? Just with the lack of Sage being put into play. Sure, we'll get the one around mid a little bit later on. For now, that one was more than enough to find the early advantage. Hunter's Fury thrown through. Chronicles desperately low, but he dodges both blasts that come his way. The op, although it's looking for the pick, it won't find Wingman. The plant in play.
This is clear.
Crash. Oh, it's got a lot of space and forcing the fights as they're out in the open and put in the dirt. 4 rounds now for Fnatic and a flawless round that they get it done on.
Yeah, that's got to be brutal. Like you, as the opponents, you take a tactical pause. You come in where you have an ult or 2 of your own to play with. You try and get back into the game with the coaches, and then an in-zone flawless comes through seconds later. That's got to be a bit more of a backbreaker on the other side of things, because obviously it didn't start the way they wanted to, but you look at players like Kayak just thriving. Like we talked about this when it first came in. Like the Sage has always had its value in terms of that sort of like, okay, you can utilize the wall, you can have the slows to combine with other utility. But the AWPing Sage is not something I don't think we've seen that much of, unless it's just like, hey guys, we don't want CNED just to play Jet every match, so we'll have CNED on Jet for once. It's like...
Yeah, the CNED Sage is basically still a Jet. Just
like, I tried to dash and it didn't work. I accidentally pulled out my heel.
Well, Crashies has also got his claws out. Boaster's feeling jealous of his duo on the other side, picking off Benji. He's now in Boaster's pocket. This is a round where Heretics don't have a lot to play with. The Viper's Pit, well, it will allow them to get close with the pistols, but their HP decaying down. Not too favorable of a fight.
He gets the salvos back online. There's going to be a lot of low HP players. They have ults to play with if this even gets close. They have a res. Like, it's looking like a brutal scenario. I think you can see the defense maybe starting to question if they've gone back in the other direction, but Miniboot immediately falling. They do manage to get the plant down. There's not really been any other positive to this round so far.
Yeah, textbook attempt by Miniboot to go running up onto rafters to take that Viper out of the pit. You know it's the spot they're likely to be in, but it's a different story altogether trying to take that pick. Riance, well, he was in a good position outside of the pit. Unfortunately, the Wingman caught onto his tricks early on, and that will be back-to-back in-zone flawlesses for Fnatic. Now, Heretics didn't invest a lot here, but what this does to the defenders' economy is it bolsters it down. It gives them a lot of cash in the bank to fall back on. And with a 5-3 lead, with a lot, I would want 5 out of the last 6 rounds going in their favor, this is now becoming an uphill battle for Heretics in a map that they absolutely must win.
Yeah, there's few teams that I think about when I think of playoffs form. Maybe throw a crew in the mix with LCQ form, put them down because their group play.
They don't know what to do, bro. They actually don't know what to do.
Their group play is normally a little bit different, but Fnatic definitely have that. It's like you see them play in the group stage. The series wasn't particularly close, went in the favor of Heretics, 13-5, 13-10. Right now, after a 13-6 victory, in the other direction. They are being pressured. Minibu desperately searching for space to hide in, and while he might have found some space, but his teammate in Rians did not.
He's been picked off early. This round of all, you know, if this happened in the last, you'd shake it off. It's whatever. Benji going down in that early fight. Who cares? You got pistols. At least you get the ground as they fall back after the engagement. This time, though, an ult for an opening pick. And Heretics left without Rians, left without that drone, that recon that could be used to clear out this position. The op in play for Kayak, lined up, waiting for an opportunity. And with 50 seconds on the clock, they're going to have to give that opportunity soon. The flash ready for Woot. Maybe that will push him back. If it doesn't, they may be in a 5v3 very soon.
And time also becomes an issue. 2 slows and the wall available. They're walking straight into that crosshair, but Minibu is going to find the trade. At least it's not another flawless. We're not getting the 3-beat of its own flawlesses, but that's a bit of a silver lining. Benji's done well. Chronicle down. Still the salvos coming into play. Crashy's got to be the most irritating Teo to play against with the timing. But Woot has found some space. Unexpected, not known, but Alfia quick on the trade. In fact, he'll find both. It looked close for a second or two, but with the form that Alfia is in, it's not looking like close for long.
No, and as well, like I said, Crashy's getting his claws out in some of these previous rounds. Momentum well and truly in Fnatic's favor now, 6-3 after a 3-1 start. It's feeling like deja vu going back to Fracture. Rian stepping back just a little too far. The snake bite forcing him to be a little more cautious, but a mistake made and quick reactions by Boaster to trade out Kayak after that opening pick. Indeed, a second pause coming into round 10. Heretics are fully panicking. They're in spiral mode.
Boo currently 0-8. I wonder if that is just a product of things going wrong, like having to try and call, micromanage, pick up different things. But this is what happens when you show Fnatic a trophy. Maybe one that doesn't look like a bucket. They decide that it's worth fighting for. Because right now, they are tearing them apart. You mentioned Crashies. I feel like the toughest part of playing against him is that he's doing damage when you can't see him. Like, I think we've talked many a time about who the best Teo is, and I think, like, you could put players like Sociable in that list in terms of just how many numbers he's going to put up individually. But I think if you're talking pure utility, like, who's the most annoying to play against, I think it has to be Crashies at #1, because every time you try and plant, he always seems to have his salvos at the exact right moment. The cycling of that utility from him is just sublime. And then if you deal with everything else that's going on, you've got Kayak and Alfia who are just popping heads.
Yeah. Oh, Benji's got the longest name in VCT EMEA. I think Serial's old name would have beaten that, but we'll leave that there. 6-3. For the Fnatic side, it's been wonderful to see them on this kind of form. Playoffs form, indeed. Upper bracket final right now, and the grand final seemingly locked in. Big changes needed, but Heretics call a pause to seek out those answers. Another opening duel for Fnatic. This time, punished quickly and cleanly.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Just making sure that he's not going to get away with too much. Clearly feeling like those light shields are in play for Heretics. Kayak has got the right read with that Outlaw in hand. And just look how much space they've got already. Now this time at least Benji is alive. So the turret should give them that contact. But they've already spotted it. With how much space they've already managed to get, you can see that the Fnatic players are just waiting. They don't want to give the game away just yet.
Gonna let them fully commit their hand so they can't turn back. Here goes the ult, and now the flank from Fnatic shows its full hand. One player goes back to deal with him, but there's actually 2 players on the flank, and they find out the hard way. Benji at least able to pick off Chronicle. The players now awaiting on site. I say players, it's just one. It's Boo, isolated. But he has managed to fly under the radar. A free pick on Boaster and Alphier. Here's the round they needed. Even the lockdown committed and denied. Kayak, you've been sublime so far, but a little more needed. There's the pick and the res, and that brings them right back into the round.
And you finally managed to deal with Alphier, and someone brings him back to life. Counter lockdown. Going to be put into play. The round's so much more important than anything else. Alfia actually looking to try and play ahead of it, and he'll be dealt with by Rians. And while there's not a lot of time left, it won't matter. It takes a second pause, but there is a response. A solid individual round from Boo as well. I think that's now him onto the scoreboard for the first time in this matchup, but it wins them a round.
Yeah, it was a surprise play. It was him sneaking his way through, fitting that while he's busy leading the team and forgetting about his own individual performance, it is the cerebral play that gets him on that board. I was worried there in the end, Tom. My heart skipped a beat. Seeing Kayak, 2 shots, loaded into the Outlaw, 2 opponents, low HP, below that 140, and they both swing him. He had a chance, and he fired at them both. Neither shot landed. Heretics get themselves around as a result. Alpha, he's avoided a mesh of bullets sent his way. Heretics finally back on the board, and it's not too late to finish this half on equal footing.
No, we've seen them versus both Vitality and Apex have incredibly clean defensive, 6-1 after getting enough rounds on that attack. So let's not pretend like this is over just because this half has been fairly firmly in Fnatic's favor. This A site has been a struggle. A lot of it has come down to delay. The amount that can be slowed off nano swarms, snake bites, salvos. But they are a little bit earlier than what we've seen in a lot of other rounds.
I think they're very ready for it, though. Look, there's 4 players already on this site, and they are trained in on that position now. As 2 fall, they think it'll be a little bit more free, a little bit more open, but Heretics, well, they couldn't be more wrong. Left with just 1. He's on the ropes, quite literally, as Fnatic put to bed the 11th round, 7-4. A lead at the half, now guaranteed. The question is, how big will the lead be?
Honestly, their B-side defense is fantastic. Like, I'm genuinely enjoying seeing, because every time they're walking into this utility setup, but the goals change for Heretics each time. It's like, okay, this time we're going to try and get aggressive. We're going to try and play around it. And Bosa just puts a snake bite right in their path, so anybody that clips it gets stuck. Then behind that, you see the Mosh go in so that they can't stand in that ground anymore, forced into a new position. Then salvos come in as well. So it's just like, it's constantly having to shift and move everywhere you're going. And while you're doing that, Alfie is peeking you. So it's like, there's not really much more you can do.
Now, there's a reason you're seeing everybody here. You've got a Viper's Pit alongside a Hunter's Fury to work with. The Pit is the main thing. Look at the space they got in the previous round. Look how close they got to the site as Fnatic didn't look for those early fights. Instead, waiting for the wall to fall and taking the battles after. That means to Heretics, they can get in there. They can get that Pit in play and lock down that control, leaving their utility passively to cover their back from Killjoy. This could be a very dangerous round, and a couple of spams, the only thing really standing in Heretics' way. And the fact that they are taking a long time. I thought by now we'd already see them in there, but they're waiting outside of B. I don't know if this is going to work the way they hope it will, as Fnatic still have 4 players close by.
I think also having the drone, also having Wingman as well, that's important. A quick pick, but still all of that delay utility is in place. 30 seconds. Now the Mosh comes through as well. That they're having to just wait out so much different pieces of utility that a Risk could do it all. Hunter's Fury thrown in to try and find some damage as the Wingman goes for the plant. I don't know if it's going to... Well, no, it's not. It's failed. And now they're stuck again. They have to go pushing. They have to go moving. Minibu lands a second shot, though. He might just be keeping them in the round, but there's the swing. Spike dropped once again. With 7 seconds left, Chronicle, all he has to do is try and drop it one more time, but he will die. So it doesn't matter in the end. Your heart might skip a beat, but Heretics do get the job done.
Well, they put the Pit in eventually, Tom. Jeez, they waited a while. How many fights were Fnatic given? Luckily, in the end, it falls into their favor, 7-5 at the halftime. Heretics have clawed their way back up to a close scoreline. The second half will see their defense. Somewhere we know that they're strong, but if they fail and falter here, that's the lower bracket run started. Fnatic, 1 away. We'll find out how it goes after the break. Welcome back, folks. 7-5. Fnatic leading the charge and looking good on pistol rounds in this series. Heretics, they better hope they can connect another one here, as that early start on this map is really all that makes this a close affair. It was 3-1 in their favor, but Fnatic made a streak of rounds, bringing us up to this 7-5 halftime. But for Heretics, Tom, you alluded to it earlier, or well, not really alluded, you said it straight, and as it is, Heretics pretty good on the defense.
Yeah, at least in their victories versus Vitality and Apex, they were very good on that defensive side. And I think the difference, though, today is that I think Fnatic have done really well to sort of disorientate them. And well, just look at the immediate rundown. Heretics not feeling the burn just yet, as they will run it straight into their opponents. There's a lot of counter utility being put into play, though. Still opportunities to try and fight this back, although Poop has somehow managed to completely dodge that stun. He won't dodge the bullets, and what was a great start quickly diminishes into a Fnatic advantage.
I think we're going to see Chronicle having some stern words with Wingman after how it's gone for him in the pistol rounds. I don't know what's going on.
You stun me through a floor, and then you don't get him when he stood there.
You look him in the eyes and you say, I know you. I'll let you away with this one. You're my buddy. Well, a 3 versus 2. A good recovery by Fnatic, and they managed to find Benji coming up behind them. Not deal with him completely. Make him a bit modest with 70 HP remaining. He'll back off. The world is Fnatic's oyster. For Team Heretics, they've got to gamble on where they think the hit's coming in.
Patient stuff. Not wanting to overface, not wanting to gamble. Still having the
30 seconds left.
orb available as well. And now slowly making their way towards the A site, which is completely open. Nobody even remotely close. Eventually the realization has to come through for the side of Heretics that they are on the wrong side of the map, and you mentioned it, how critical this pistol will have been. And now we look at Mini Boo and Benji and see what they can do with it.
When it comes to pistols, Heretics have usually been pretty good. But here, Fnatic definitely upping the challenge a little bit. This 3v2. Everyone tagged on that attacking side, but they've got the numbers and the unknown factor, the positions having to be cleared, swinging out from those corners. Fnatic with a 3rd pistol in this series. And you know, I say Heretics have been pretty good. They're number 2 in the region, right behind BBL, who we talked a lot about how strong their performances have been. So for Fnatic to step up to the plate here, it is a big deal.
Didn't their pistol stats take a pretty big hit recently, though? Were they?
BBL, yeah.
They lost a lot of them.
Still number 1.
It says a lot about how good they've been in those sort of scenarios. We'll see if that continues later today. What's the qualification match still coming up? This one.
Nice, Alpha. Good job.
It's all about getting in towards that grand final. A chance at the trophy. Damn, nice shot from Mini Boo, but again, the first kill might go the way of Heretics, but the second and the third go in the other direction. Boo has picked up the mantle of his brother, trying to do that little bit more. Some nice shots, but the round still looks favored. The man against them, though, maybe the last man you'd want to come up against here.
He's up close, he's ahead of the curve, he's taking Crashies down, runs for the hill, and makes it round the corner. Plant will come through, but a real chance now. Only the 1 swarm grenade in play. And Rienz, I like the idea. The big wraparound he's going for, hoping to catch his opponent off guard.
Classic.
He may well catch him off guard. Look at where Alpha's going. He's so focused on this path, on even it being a side push, but now he's spotted him. What a shot! What? Rienz connects 2 to the dome of Alpha Year. And while the pistol round may not have fallen into their favor, the pistol of Rienz brings this round back into Heretics' pocket. Unbelievable!
All I'm going to say, well, the Red Bull clutch, but more so, that's got to be the easiest bundle on planet Earth to sell when your players are doing stuff like that with it. That's just utterly ridiculous. And I said it in the moment, there is no one else you want in those clutch scenarios with how solid Rienz has been individually. It's just ridiculous.
And that's the right click. That's the right click.
How about the left click?
It was a left.
Well, the first one was the right click.
Yeah, the up close battle. I don't think he quite would have been right clicking Alfier from there. Now, Fnatic have come through, 2 rifles in play. Those players playing the pistols have a chance to buy back up here. And they'll put their money on the line early on, not wanting to see that lead dissipate, not wanting to see Heretics 1 round away from them. They'll still have money for the next. Don't worry about that. It's not the biggest risk ever, but it gives them a huge opportunity. The opening pick already there is Kayak with another Alpha, returning with the classic onto Woot. And all of a sudden, this round that had little to speak about in favor of Fnatic, just 2 rifles, now they've got 4. And there's only 2 rifles for Heretics, only 2 players left standing.
Benji's held the line at least for a little bit. He's managed to find a gap, and the trade was never going to not come through from that position. It now leaves Boo a gap to run through, but almost seeming like suicide if he was to try and get through that gap, knowing there's going to be somebody either to the left, to the right, or up above. And at the moment, it seems like the majority of them, the wall's at least giving him a gap to try and find around, but he's hoping for a fight. And just look at where Fnatic sit. They are all back passive, waiting patiently for a single tap to come through. And guess what? Those salvos are online once again. Crashy's always so irritating in these scenarios that time is ever ticking, ever falling. And for Boo, I feel like at this stage it just has to be the retreat. And I think even the Fnatic players are starting to realize it. Look where Crashy's has got to. He's just trying to stop him getting out of there, wants to remove that gun, and that's exactly what he'll do. The knife in the back, the thorn in the side. Fnatic, I've got 9 on that attack.
Taking the small advantage of that earlier economic decision, bringing in 2 rifles, finding the opening pick, arming to the teeth. Alfier, the man, top fragging, tied up with Crashies. Even finds one with a classic. Here it is.
Maybe it's just a Turkish thing. Then again, I say that, but Chronicle was always very good with it.
Oh yeah, listen, you see,
he's Turkish in spirit.
Where are you going, bro?
And they did. It was Woot going in to try to fight Kayak. Oh,
that's one of your lineups, right?
Oh, shut up, Tom. All right, listen. It happened 1 time in ranked.
Oh no,
man.
sorry. It's one of Scott's.
Look, stop coming for the Irish, Tom. I don't like it. Scott would never co-sign that. In fact, I reckon he's already writing that down in his notebook. Double digits.
Gonna give him a stern high 5 after this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be Scott with Boaster and Chronicle with Wingman. Big talks to be had. 9-6, double digits now, looking probable for Fnatic. And you gotta say, Tom, great course correction after that. Little bit of a bump in the road in this half.
Yeah, a little bit. I'd say it was a big bump in the road, but then I guess somehow they've used it as a ramp. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Mini Boot, he's been struggling this game, and just look at the amount of utility that's being put in. They knew exactly where he would land. And yeah, the hero gun has ended up as the 0 gun. Nothing found. A lockdown to force any players off this site. You had the stack. You had the players in the right place at the right time. Unfortunately, you gotta run.
And that was it. That was the worry. 3 players tucked in, ready for the fight. A real chance for Heretics, but the lockdown wisely put into play by Alfier here, leaving Fnatic with double digits almost assuredly. The question was, would it be flawless? And in zone will be sad to see it isn't, as Boo is the last one standing, picked off Chronicle. Still though, Thrash online for the next round, double digits secured, and Team Heretics on that familiar scoreline of 6. It was around now, Fnatic just ran away with it, going back to Fracture. We may see the same again. 4 players alive, big economy round as well for that attacking side.
10-6, a completely different story. We did not need a replay of him throwing that into the barrier.
That is cruel.
I've already been mean enough beforehand. Don't need to double down on it. Shout out Scott again for the lineup.
All right, listen, Tom. You're on thin ice now, man. You're on thin ice.
They're winning rounds, that's fine. 10-6. Ultimates building up for Heretics, but starting to question if it's too little too late. Armageddon for Crashies. They've had so many set plays around this. Whoa, he tries to run away. Oh, it's damage. They even had a salvo that goes behind. Rians is just trying to dodge every single piece of utility. Memes already being made on Twitter to prove like, Valorant, how difficult it could be to play. He does survive though, but well, his teammate has not. In fact, Riot didn't even last long.
Man, now Woot's looking the wrong way again. It was Kayak to distract him last time. This time, he's the one surprising him. And either way, this has got to be a save. Look, they're already backing off. They're already giving up that control towards the B site. Boo and Benji look to hang on to these weapons, and how quickly that round fell apart. And Tom, you're exactly right as well. It's not just the fact that you have this ult coming through, but behind it, you've then got a nano swarm and the salvos to block them in. I mean, those players were under so much pressure, and they struggled.
The one gap.
The tiny gap. And immediately on the way back in, Fnatic, they're finding players trying to regain a spot to fight from, trying to regain control, and they go right in to the flood of Fnatic. The flood of that attack side wipes them clean from the board. Looks like they'll save their weapons at least, but it's a small solace.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about Fnatic with these sort of setups is that they are aware of the space. Like, they know exactly, they go, oh, we've done this amazing execution, and if they don't get a kill from it, they're not going, oh, I guess there was just no one there. They're going, okay, there was a gap here and here, so we're going to now execute into those positions and make it more awkward for players who have managed to survive our util. Like, it's just such intelligent play, and we talk about Heretics and these explosive compositions, the individual brilliance of players like Miniboo, Woot, and they have been really struggling throughout this matchup so far, not been able to find that same value we've seen all season. Like, you talk about Miniboo being the highest ACS player, but he hasn't been in this game. Boo, though, will at least start things off with an opening pick. And that's Kayak gone. So the rest won't be used. Unfortunately, you can't bring yourself back.
That is 2 rifles, though, for Team Heretics. Boo has 1, Benji has the other. The rest are sitting down with pistols. Space taken, but spotted. And on the way back, he's dead. Dead to rights. Good spam. Good opportunity to recover a weapon. Boaster tries to be the thorn in the side, but they've abandoned that control. Heretics with a 3 versus 5 in their favor. 3 weapons as well to work with. This is all that they need. And I like this. Immediately you see Miniboo back off from that fight. He doesn't need to risk it. Just spotting for the info.
Trying to make sure that there's no gap to be had. You've also got the deep alarm bot, so even though it might look like B is open for business, that will give enough information. That's why Benji hasn't gone any further forward, wanting to make sure he stays within range. This might roost them a little bit, though. If that push-up will come in, they'll destroy the util, and immediately, look at the rotation. Look how many people have just started running the other way. The problem is how much time can be bought. Woot needs to just try and get 1 here, and he doesn't, but there's a Hunter's Fury on the other side, and that will do the job. That will clear everything out, and Boaster's late flank, well, it's too late.
Whoa, he almost gets taken down there by the Sheriff. Rian's going back for more. He'll be dropped. Another point towards that Viper's Pit, but another round for Team Heretics, pushing past that barrier of 6, somewhere they were kept on when it came to Fracture.
Wow.
And a gap of 4 rounds now. This game is far from over if Heretics can keep this form up. That was a round that they had very little to work with. And yes, the Hunter's Fury was used, but that was really just the icing on the cake. The seasoning, the main dish, though, was that opening pick by Boo, was that fight inside of Tube and the rifle recovered, and then passive play, allowing that clock to run down.
Potentially. Bit of a pace change. You see the orb is the main target, trying to continually build up the ultimates for the side of Fnatic. When you have that Thrash in play, there's a lot of space that can be taken. The thing is, though, you look over on the A side, it's just a solo defender in the form of Rians. The gamble has been made that they'll be able to get in, and a lot of that will come down to having this lockdown available for Benji Fishy. They are confident in the retake, so the only goal really for Rians is, okay, spot, see if you can find information. If you get a kill on the way, fantastic. But it seems like the rotation from the defensive side actually coming a little bit earlier. They have made that realization.
Monster on the loose.
And a good job that they're playing that bit more passive. Thrash is on its way. It's caught one, but Miniboo's down below, ready to pounce. Boaster gets caught in mid as well. Really nicely played by Heretics, covering all their bases, defending the man that got caught by the Thrash. And now 3 players on site ready for the battle. Fnatic walking right in to the fray. I like Kayak's spot, but no one's giving him an angle. Oh, here we go. He's up and above. He's caught them in the ult. The trade comes in quick with Miniboo shutting that down. Alpha all alone. He's been sensational so far. Gets the opportunity for one, but with 12 seconds left, that plant has to be stuck at this time, and the flank indeed should secure this round as he runs for that safe spot. It wasn't so safe with Boo around.
Yeah, you can forgive him for making the prediction that, okay, if they put that lockdown in, probably both players are going to come from the same angle at the end and not have separate 1v1 duels. But it was a long flank that came through from Boo, but a much better round from them overall. They had a solid read on everything that was going on. Benji, this timing was everything, because that was almost Woot dead to rights as he attempted to rotate in and ends up being a pivotal factor. And although he ends up being caught, the quick reactions from those players is enough. Fnatic, after losing a couple in a row, have made the decision now that, okay, well, we need to try and slow this down. We do not want to allow Heretics to firstly get back into the game, but secondly build that momentum. Start seeing those superstars that we have done all the way through the season.
That's it. It's time to get back on the horse for Fnatic. 2 in a row. Doesn't seem like much, but we know what Heretics can do when given this kind of space. Now we're seeing them make those reads. The early aggression with the 2 rifles works out. The rotations that came into play there, perfect as they were ahead of the play. And you can see the coaching staff of Fnatic with a lot to say. That's a lot of holes to plug. But when it comes to these 2 boys, it's dangerous when they're given this much time to think. We'll see what Fnatic make as an adjustment. The res online, not much else for them, but they're competing against the ult from Miniboo that despite him having a quieter performance here on Icebox, this ult has done a lot for him before. Boo as well, having that Viper's pit. It's been a slow half, but if he's playing inside his pit, it's going to be difficult to root him out of there, even in the worst of times.
There you go. In terms of win rate in the retakes,
wow,
that's where we do see the best of this Heretic squad. As I said, with the rounds they played on the defense, a lot of the time it's been utter dominance. We've already started to witness them build back into this map a little bit. Still a long way to go. 2 rounds needed for Fnatic to close this series. 3 rounds just to level it up.
Locating targets.
For the attack. Bit of a slower pace. They were kind of steamrolling Heretics in a lot of these early rounds. So now that there's a little bit of resistance, back to the drawing board.
Heretics are going for something different as well.
Go, go, go.
The stuns go up on B. Gecko flash as well as they look to take that deep control. They see nobody and now sense it's an A play. The wall comes in from Fnatic, the utility being heard, but they're a little slow to get that plant down, and that's a problem. The Heretics have now rotated thanks to that early B play. They've got 4 players in position, ready to take that space. Ult pop, I believe, by Miniboo. The Viper's pit from the attack, though, that's going to be tough to fight back through with Alpha instantly rezzed.
They were hoping to try and kill him off again. Alpha are actually now 1 away from the lockdown. He gets a pick, and that kill on Tim might actually end up helping out. Chronicle as well, just holding the line already. They're trying to get it. Actually, I think that Nanoswarm has missed. It's bounced off, but it doesn't matter. The spams have done the work anyway. And now all that remains is Boo! He's landed a multitude of kills, looking for a little bit more, but it was too much to ask. A 1v5 would have been absurd. Unfortunately, for them at least, it's not to be. And this places Fnatic right onto map and series point. And more importantly, a spot in that grand final.
Just 1 round away with 4 chances to close it out. Fnatic have come into this series looking clean on map number 1. That was their pick, but it was Heretics who chose to fight them here on Icebox. A big round from Boo, sure. A 3-piece put on the board without the use of his pit. But it'll come to nothing. It will amount to naught if they cannot find 4 in a row. It was them to send Fnatic through that lower bracket. Stage 1 of last year. Well, revenge can taste sweet, and Fnatic just one round away from that taste.
Might be a short trip to the lower bracket. A single match and they'd be right back into that grand final, but we know about the lengths you have to go through in those best of fives, the energy they'll be thrown into it. And well, we already saw this back at kickoff. Heretics thrown to the lower bracket, thrown to the wolves that were Team Liquid in form, and they did not come out of that lower bracket. Well, in one sense they did. Miniboo trying to get aggressive, trying to put some of that flair into play, but he's not found anything from it. Still sticks around.
Pit securing B, it's allowing them to rotate more heavily, and that's being sensed by Fnatic. Turret broken from down below. Nano active, just so Benji could clear below, but he's worried about someone being in tube, and he should be. He spotted the shoulder, spotted the elbow, and takes Alphayear down, ready for the rest, but Kayak bests him, and now the B site seems open, but they're not committing just to it. They've heard the steps up close. They know that there's players just outside, and use the slow to get themselves into position. The plant with 12 seconds left. The snake bite to delay to give that bit more space, but they need to find some solid ground to fight from. Towards Snowman is where they're looking, but there's plenty of players waiting. In goes the Armageddon. It's caught. One, Rienz is down. Whoa, forced into the open. And now the round seems to be in Fnatic's favor. A lot of ground to cover by Miniboo, by Boo. The pit falls, and they know where he's coming from. They'll drop him right away. Grand finals bound are Fnatic, the first team to grace that upper spot, and they do it. Pass the test of Team Heretics with flying colors.
Yeah, in this case, lightning does not strike twice. Switch up the map pool, switch up the picks, and they have come out on top. But let's be real, we are definitely looking at this matchup between these two as a potential grand final. I don't think this is going to stop the beating heart of the Heretics squad. But for Fnatic, they have found form at the moment they need it most, and that is the thing with this squad. We talk about their group stage form versus that playoffs form. Now don't get me wrong, they were still decent in the group stage, but when they faced off against this squad, let's be honest, they got bodied. Now they come in, upper bracket, a chance to make it to the final, a chance to fight for the beautiful trophy we saw earlier, and that's where these players start to make the difference. And I think highlights already being made in terms of players. Alfia today was incredible, but Crashies on this map, I would hate playing against his utility. It would make me so angry.
We talked about how valuable Crashy's utility was on map number 1, but his performance individually hit another level here. Those ults were connecting, those salvos were terrifying. Alpha and Kayak showing a wonderful form, and for Fnatic right now, this is the team to beat. Your first grand finalist for EMEA locked in, and they're eyeing up that trophy.